Today we are talking about finding factor pairs, okay? So when we look at factors, it's like if I gave you a number and I said 16, okay? This is where, if I give you the number 16, which is actually on our list, so let me give you one that's not on our list. Let's see. 14 is not on our list. Okay, if I give you the number 14, oh my word, I can't even see it in the video. Okay, try again. Number 14. And then I'm going to ask you, what numbers can I multiply together to get us 14?
7 times 2.
Good, so I'm going to write an equation. 7 times 2 equals 14. What's another way that I can do it?
2 times 7.
2 times 7? Yes, but let's do it without repeating the same numbers. Do you know? What times what will always get us that number? Mary?
4 times 0. 14 times 0.
Not times 0, that gets you 0. But times what, Keegan?
14 times 1.
Right, 1 times 14 equals 14. Okay? So these are our only two equations that get us 14, right? These are equations. I'm going to make this into a factor pair. So this is where I say 7 and 2, it will get me 14, right? I didn't write out as an equation. This is a factor pair, okay? So how would I write this equation as a factor pair? Willian?
You do 1 and 14.
Perfect. 1 and 14. Pretty much what I did, I took out my multiplication sign and I put in the word and. Right? Does that make sense? In our factor pairs though, you don't have to put the equals. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's look at page 39. Okay? Look at page 39. All right. So our first number is 20. 20, okay? So if I have the number 20, who can tell me one equation for 20?
4 times 5.
4 times 5 gets us 20. What else? Mary?
10 times 2.
2 times 10, good. And what else? Samara? 1 times 20. Does anything else get me 20? Make sure you're writing these down. We have 4 times 5, 2 times 10, and 1 times 20. Nothing else gets me that, right? We can add things. All right, Joseph, just leave it up and come over here, okay? Just leave it up for me. We can add things to get 20, but we don't need to, we can't multiply anything, right? Does that make sense? Okay, how can I write these as a factor pair? How am I going to write this as a factor pair, Bella?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Mary, how am I going to write this as a factor pair?
2 and 10.
2 and 10. How am I going to write this as a factor pair? Sweet.
1 and 20.
Perfect. 1 and 20. That is number 1, the 20. That is how we find our factor pairs. Does that make sense? Now, Joseph, just catch up with us on page 39, number 16. Okay, we just did the 20s, but just catch up on 16, okay? All right, now we're looking at the number 16. What times what will get me 16? Sarah? We always know 1 times what?
16.
16. Sweet. 2 times 8. Lincoln.
4 times 4.
Perfect. 4 times 4. These are our equations. These are the only equations. Okay? Are you going to do a factor pair?
1 times 16.
We got it.
Oh, we already got it.
Good job, though. All right, Grace, how can I write this as a factor pair?
1 and 16.
1 and 16. How can I write this as a factor pair, Ben?
2 and
2 and 8. How can I write this, Charisma?
4 and 4.
4 and 4. Good. All right, now they're going to try to trick us. The number 13. What times what gets me 13? Keegan? 1 times 13. Write that down. Does anything else get me 13? Ben? Huh? Does anything else? No. Nothing else gets me 13, right? So, what is my only factor pair?
1 and 13.
1 and 13. So, numbers like that only have one factor pair, right? Good. Now, Lincoln?
Numbers like 13 are called prime numbers.
Good, we're going to get to that later. Not today, but we will get to that. But you are correct. All right, now we are looking at the number 27. 27. What is my first equation I need to write down? What's my first one?
9 times
What's my first one?
27 times
Perfect. 1 times 27. Lillian, what's my other one?
9 times 3.
Good. 3 times 9 equals 27, right? Now, what are my factor pairs? Sarah?
1 and 27.
Good. And Joseph, what's my other one? How am I going to write this as a factor pair?
3 and 9.
3 and 9. Perfect. Okay. Now we have one more number to factor pair. Ben, do you have a question or do you have a number already? Okay. So we're looking at 32. Okay. I'm going to erase this really fast. What times what gets me 32? What's my first one, Ben?
4 times 8.
Can you tell me what my first one is first?
Times 32.
1 times 32. He also said 4 times 8. There's one more. Anyone know what it is, Grace?
26 times 2.
Not 26. 16. 2 times 16. Good. That one's a tricky one. So we have 1 times 32, 4 times 8, and 2 times 16. Okay? Make sure, do you know how you can check and make sure that you have all your factor pairs? You start at 1. 1 times 32, right? Can you break it down? Can 2 go into this? Let's see. 2 goes, what's 32 divided by 2? Well, it's 16, right? Then you say, can anything times 3 give me 32? Can it? No. Anything times 4? Yes. Anything times 5? No. Anything times 6? No. So we know we're about done, right? Because then we start repeating because then we get to 8 and we already did that one, right? So that's how you check and make sure you got all of them. Does that make sense? Yes or no, bobbleheads? Okay. Now let's make our factor pairs. And Charisma.
32 and
1 and 32. Good. Everyone, what's my next one?
4 and 8.
4 and 8. And everyone, what's my last?
2 and 16.
Perfect. Now, we just talked about it a little bit, but it says, how do you know when you have found all the factor pairs of a number? Okay? So, you go in order starting at 1, right? We go 1 times what? 2 times what? If it's nothing, we don't put it, right? So you go in order starting with 1. Everyone write that part down first. You go in order starting with 1. Then, I'm going to actually do this with this isn't something you're going to write down. This is something I want you to see, okay? So we have I'm going to do the number 8, okay? So we know it's 1 times 8. I started with 1, right? Can 2 times anything get me 8?
Yes.
What?
4 times 4.
2 times 4. Can anything times 3 get me 8? No. Can anything times 4 get me 8? Yes, which is 2. We already had that. That is called a turnaround fact. Everyone say turnaround fact.
Turnaround fact.
That means that when I turn this around, I already have that equation, right? It means I'm just going to be doubling and going in a circle, right? So when we get to a turnaround fact, that means that's all that we have, okay? So then that's what you're going to write next. When I find a turnaround fact, I know I have found them all. Okay? Does that make sense? So you need to write, I go in order starting with 1. When I find a turnaround fact, I know I found them all. Okay? That's what you need to write.